Hey guys, J77 here doing a diary review on something of a personal blog that I haven't done. Oh, God knows how long. I haven't done this in a while. I've been mostly doing what's news and um, you know, entertainment news and actual political, actual news that I haven't really done a personal blog in so long. But being the fact that I have noticed a trend, especially within the news circuit as well as YouTube and just the media and how they was covering the death of Ed Koch. I felt it was a good time to just talk about my own personal feelings on the guy, what my likes and dislikes about him, and just get my overall feeling of what he, in terms of me growing up in New York, what he have left behind, the stuff he did right, and the stuff I felt that a lot of people have gave him a little bit too much credit for. Um, my overall feeling was that he was the first actual mayor that I was exposed to. I was a little kid. He was a name that was in the news a lot. I mean, I say a lot, I do mean a lot. Frankly, there's not a day goes by that he has been in the news for something he did, something he didn't do, for something that was considered controversial at the time. He was just all over the place. My grandmother, I've always told me that this guy had a lot of guts because he was going to places where many people deemed that other mayors during that time would not have gone. And he has really took the streets a lot more. He was more of a foot mayor, I like to call, because he was on the streets a lot, asking questions, how are you doing, and how is he holding up. Um, but most of the time, he's also in places that was deemed a little unsafe. And if you have lived in New York in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, unsafe was not even a proper word to describe just how crazy New York was in terms of crimes and deaths related to crime. It was very, very bad. And even the own news media have joke about New York is a safe, a nice place to visit, but no one wants to live here. And that was said a lot during the press, including people who were tourists, because especially some incident which I don't remember, it was either 86 or 87, where tourists actually died, and that had massive headway in the news. I mean, it reached from New York all the way to the other side of the West Coast. That's how crazy it was. And Ed Koch was around it trying to do extreme damage control because the tourists during that era took a serious hit. It was almost pretty much non-existent, and it wasn't for the fact that you had that small area, and even that area was seeing a lot of dangerous situation going on. But the only thing that kept the tourists going back was, okay, you had Broadway, and you had the movie theater district as well as other trendy sites like Central Park. But aside from Manhattan, no other boroughs was seeing that kind of tourism. Brooklyn wasn't seeing anything. The Bronx was basically a wasteland. If you go and look at the the old documentaries in the past, the Bronx was pretty much almost non-existent. You had Yankee Stadium around that area, but that's pretty much it. When I was growing up, they was slowly trying to rebuild the Bronx to at least livable standards. But even that, it took a long process, and some areas still to this day have not recovered from that period that was pretty much the black hole of New York. And that's how Ed Koch got into the picture, because New York was just flat broke. This city was pretty much bankrupt. The state took over the financial funds, and many people were screaming for the head of the other mayor. And this was pretty much Ed Koch came in, and to his credit, he actually got our financial situation back on track. He literally have lifted us out of pretty much Armageddon. I always told people is, if you've seen some of the movies in the past, some of the movies that are considered cult classic, like Escape from New York, The Warriors, and other films that followed, their depiction of New York wasn't that far fetched. I mean, we was that close from reaching those levels. And The Warrior was a perfect example of what was really going on. A lot of crime. You had those graffiti trains. It was pretty much an unsafe place to live, even in broad daylight. It was very, very unsafe, including the parks like Prospect Park and Central Park. It has really spiraled out of control, and largely because we hardly had any police force here. We hardly had any fire departments here. Places was getting burned down, and the fire department couldn't get them because there was not enough to go around. They were completely overwhelmed. And Ed Koch came in, and he slowly started to get the city back on. It took him about 2 terms, and I say 2 terms for a reason. I'll get to that in a minute. But those 2 terms, he was at his height. He was at his strength. There were some policies that didn't favor a lot of people. He raised taxes on a lot of on certain things, but he also fought for other things that I felt that was beneficial, especially rent control. He fought for that. He fought for that tooth and nail, because he believed in the middle class, which is always something that I really do applaud him. He was not a corporate mayor. That's one thing I will never say that he was. He was not a corporate mayor. Did he had crazy policies? You can say at the time, probably did. But the one thing I think that stuck out to him is his scuffles with Al Sharpton. There's a video, an interview video. It's a very good video. That tells how he have dealt with him. But needless to say, Al Sharpton was more in handcuffs under his leadership than any other mayor. Period. I don't think any mayor put him in handcuffs. But during that time, especially when we had a lot of movements going on, there was bully tactics going on, and Ed Koch was not the one you want to bully, and he made that very clear. I believe he went to his office one time, got arrested, made the New York Post as well as the Daily News, and needless to say, he never went back in his office again because he knew what was going to happen. A lot of people got on him for that, especially those who believe he insulted a civil rights leader, and he said in an interview what went down. But it doesn't surprise me. Just for the record, I'm not a big fan of Al Sharpton at all. I think he's biased on more top, but this is not Al Sharpton. This is about Ed Koch. And that was the one thing I think was his strength as well as weakness. He was not afraid to talk. He was not afraid to speak his mind. He was not afraid to dish out dirt. Many people consider him as a bully for that. But like I said, he was my mayor, and I know this is what I expected from him. I think it hurt him more in his 3rd term than it did anything else, because his 3rd term, I think his popularity slowly but surely started to decrease, and eventually that led to him being overtaken by Dinkins. There was a lot of reasons for that, of course. It wasn't just because of his loud mouth, but I think that the stuff that he was trying to implement wasn't really what New York needed at the time. I mean, at the time when he was the mayor, he did got us out of the brink. We was in terrible shape, horrible shape, and he did got us out of the brink. However, that didn't necessarily got us out of the crime rate that was still staggering during the 80s, and that didn't help, I will admit, by the cocaine crack crisis. People was doing drugs in broad daylight, and the police wasn't doing anything, and that's how bad it was. It really, in the 80s, it really hurt the city. It hurt the city a lot more than what anybody realized back then, and it took Giuliani to really turn that around. Giuliani really did a lot of policies that got New York City to be a more tourist-friendly, more trendy place to be in, to live in. A lot of stuff that happened that really did happen on Giuliani's watch, and Bloomberg pretty much continued it with the more business approach. But Ed Koch, to me, that was what really, in my opinion, causes him not to be reelected for a 4th term. Before anybody says, we didn't have term limits in New York at the time. You can run as much as you can as long as people voted. And people just gotten tired of his policies and the fact that crime did not change over his 3-term plan. They decided to vote for something new and hope for the best. Overall, that didn't mean he stayed out of the news. He was in the news a couple of times before he had done a lot of good things. He kept, kept his face familiarized with the media. He was very friendly with the media, a lot more than I think he should have, but he was more friendly with the media, and the media, to his credit, didn't give him too much slack because of that. And that's why I say they shouldn't really be, but he started doing other things. He was a representative for HIP when HIP first got started. He then became a movie critic, surprisingly, at YouTube. He also started doing other things. He still voiced his own opinion, voiced his own views of a lot of situation. His views on the death penalty, stuff he didn't answer, of course, his sexuality, which I really didn't care for, but it was a very big deal, especially when it came to governor, because he ran for governor, and there was some very, very harsh ads against him, and needless to say, it shook my head, and I couldn't believe that actually was happening during that time. But overall, if I have to say, he was the first. No matter what the policy is in terms of me, he was my first person who I recognized by name. There was a lot of other people, of course, Reagan, because Reagan was in the news. Of course, he was the president. Didn't know what the president was. I knew what the mayor was because I knew how much he actually, what he have done, what he have didn't done, and the stuff he have done was more positive than the stuff that he also did that was also negative. The one memory I will tell you that I will never forget, and this is something that went flying all over the place. The one thing that I will say that shocked the hell out of me. He did this. I don't think no other mayor have done it after him. Was a long time ago. Me and my grandmother was watching television. She made everyone's business to watch the news to let everybody know what's going on. And Ed Koch, along with a couple other city officials, actually closed down a building complex, and I was shocked. He single-handedly closed that thing down, and the reason being for that is because of some things that was going on in that area. This hotel had a lot of problems, especially with the youth. It was young teenage kids, and needless to say, when you have those in different groups, they started beating up people. They started causing trouble. And it got to the point where it was just getting so wild that they decided to close that area down. That place is no longer in existence. There's something else that's being put up there, but that used to be a very hot spot to the point where people didn't want to go near that particular area. It was right across from the Brooklyn Academy of Music. Those who have lived there that long near that area will know what I'm talking about, especially if you happen to used to live on that very spot during the 80s. It was pretty much a bad spot, especially for those who was just passing by, and these ruffians just wanted to pick a fight and rob you and beat you up, and that pretty much led to the last straw, and Ed Koch basically shut it down. Many people called the hotel, I believe it was called the Guana Hotel one time, but to me it was more of an apartment complex than a hotel, but apparently it was also city run, and they said the hell with that and goodbye. That was always a memorable part of the history, because it was only a few blocks from where I was. It was just, I could walk right straight down there, and it's like, wow, he really did it. And since then, the impact was immediate, because those guys who was hanging around that area doing nothing, skipping school, causing trouble, beating people up, stealing, causing all sorts of mischief, disappeared. They would never be seen. They were gone. So that was something that was also in the height of my doing my following of him as a kid, until I really started following politics. That was something that I actually got from him. So I tell you, he had guts. One thing you would never hear me arguing about him, he had guts. His policies as a whole, when I look back at it, it is mixed. He did a lot of stuff that was questionable to a lot of people, and people wasn't afraid to bring it out. I'm going to show you something for a minute. I don't know if this is just New York or it is pretty much widespread, but this magazine here, it's called the Elle magazine. It's a free magazine. You can get it from any corner area that has their booth. And this has happened before his death. This came out only 2 days after his before his death, and I turned the page. This is a bi-weekly magazine, by the way, guys. And I was reading something. I was halfway through, and I said, fine. And this is something that I'm noticing a lot, not just from this magazine, but from a lot of people who have posted, at least some who has their own feeling towards him. And I was a little bit shocked to see this, and I will show you right here if you can see it. We'll push it closer to the angle. Let me see if I can. There we go. This happened. This is posted every Wednesday. This Friday night, and this is in response to a documentary that I believe will be opening this week. I believe it's already open now in selected theaters, pretty much art house theaters. And I'm gonna read some of the stuff that it says here. Taking office in the wake of the New York mid-70s financial crisis, Mayor Ed Koch made his developmentalist policies put into place by the multiple assisting the corporations and energy foundation controlling the board of top priorities of his own. And every substance mayoral administration, he slashed social spending in the name of physical responsibility while stuffing his pockets of private business, tax break subsidies, and public-private partnerships. A one-time liberal congressman from West Village District, Koch transformed himself into a third-way cannoli averted. I don't know what the hell that letter is. It's Alator, I believe that's what they call it. I think it's in some kind of Latin, and I'm not going to try and translate what that is. Along the way, race baiting and city old liberals city along the road, controlling to death and transforming New York from a nation most glorious provider of social welfare and city with the highest income equity. So, in other words, the guy didn't like him. The guy did not like him. There's other stuff here that he has mentioned. We won't learn anything from this in Koch's new documentary from the first-time director. Basically, he's already criticizing the documentary. To me, if you know the history, if you live in New York, some of the stuff he's saying is not exactly off charts. There are some things he have done. I consider it making a deal with the devil because let's be honest. He was in a situation where he either do something or watch this city basically go to dust. And I said this before, especially now in today's climate, it's more now recognizable now than it was years back. That even my uncle talked to me about this, about how they was trying to make this more of a higher up class city, to the point where you're either going to see the very rich or the very poor, and the middle class would pretty much be phased out eventually. And it's actually been happening a lot more now under Bloomberg and even Giuliani than you have seen in Koch. The one thing I will say, he was balanced when he was in office. This stuff doesn't surprise me at all. And yeah, there is some truth to what he has said. There's no question. This is one of the things that got a lot of people angry. As for race baiting, I never thought he actually race baited. True, he had a big beef with Al Sharpton, but let's be honest here. A lot of stuff that Al Sharpton tried to do while Ed Koch was mayor was pretty much a bully tactics. It's one thing that you want civil rights and equal for all, but when you do, where you're trying to put a gun on the mayor's head and say you're gonna do this or else, people's not gonna pretty much vouch for you too much. And he have done that a lot, not just on Ed Koch's watch, but also on other mayors' watch as well. This is one of the reasons why I will never really fully support him. There are some stuff he have done good, don't get me wrong, but But there's other stuff that just basically scratched my head. And when he gets caught out there, especially when something he knows that was wrong, he's never the one to come out and apologize for dropping the ball, and that's something I always don't like about him, especially when it was proven that something he thought it was not. And between him and Ed Koch, and I'm gonna leave a link to that because he did speak about his days with with Al Sharpton. It was a very interesting conversation. He basically explained about how he had to deal with that situation a lot more than what people realize. And that's the whole thing. The dealing he have done, you gotta ask yourself this one question: have he not done the stuff he has not done? Would this city have gotten out of the debt crisis? That's the one thing I've always asked myself. Did he get us out of the debt crisis? Yes, he did. Did that mean that the city was safe? No. Did that mean that a lot of people have benefit for what Ed Koch have done? No, of course not. There's always going to be a mixed feeling for what he have done in this city. Some good, some bad. Some may like him, some may not like him, and for the same reasons that this magazine have pointed out, as well as what other people who were close to him has pointed out, including I pointed out. To me, I grew up during his next to last term. He just won election. I heard about him. I seen it on the news, but I was little. It was when that last election I really started to get on him. He was really news, and his approval rating was slowly slipping. But my mom always said that she actually liked him. He actually thought he was good for the city in many ways than none. He really was good for the city, and most likely because he was more acceptable towards middle class. He made sure that the least, if anything, to make sure that the rents were still affordable in this town, in this city, with rent control. I can't say that with the other mayors. I really can't. It's almost like they can't wait to see rent control die out so they can actually see it raised 10 times fold to get more wealthier people in the city. That's the feeling I get anyway with these these landlords and these mayors. And even Koch said that it was important at the time because the city needed the middle class to be the backbone of the city. His most controversial decision during his early days, I think it was the lottery. I believe that the lottery, which by the way sparked his collide with Al Sharpton, was a big thing. And those who don't know what I'm thinking by that is that there was a youth program that he was trying to implement, and he said that and rather than just have. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I had to do a jump cut. Apparently, there was a little bit of interruption, but back on. So, where was I? Oh, yes, the lottery. The lottery was made for one reason. It was made to select a bunch of kids to be in the youth work program. And for what I understand, at least from the reports I got, Al Sharpton wanted to be only one race to have that program, and that was simply not going to happen. And that was one time I actually say that Koch did the right thing in not accepting his demands. There was a lot of other stuff about that because it took away the power from churches to select programs and other people they feel that are good people, that are good men to go with that. It pretty much gave them what he felt at the time was a fair opportunity for all the youth to work doing that lottery program. Do I think it's a good idea now? Not really, but I think there was very limited jobs that go around, and they couldn't just have everyone. They couldn't employ everyone. So a lot of people did turn out for him, though. A lot of children turned out for those jobs, and they filled an application, and if they were in hopes that the lottery will pick them. So that was one of those things that actually sparked it. Other things to come between the mayor as well as Al Sharpton. Just had one of those things. Um, as for what my feeling on this, like I said, when I saw the news, ABC reported, NBC, Yahoo, a lot of people started reporting it. It was actually reported kind of late towards the papers because the papers didn't really explain anything. The morning paper just said that he was moved in intensive care. I know that Ed Koch a few weeks ago made some comments about it, said he was going to be fine, he can't wait to go back home. That was the last interview that I believe he had made, and then on this morning when I woke up, about to do my usual routine, I saw his name in the newspaper. Was pretty much the front page in the Daily News. I believe page 5 on the Post. Both saying the same thing, that he was moved in intensive care. It didn't really go into details. The person who was writing for the news, I think, hinted that he was taking a turn for the worse. And it just was a matter of time, but he did it in a way that we really couldn't tell. But it was very interesting how he was out of intensive care. Now he was back in intensive care, being closely monitored, and I didn't really realize how serious it was. He didn't really go into details. And then once I started checking my email, I saw it on the Yahoo page in the side said that Ed Koch dies. And I said, oh really? And I immediately clicked on to see any related news to it, because I don't just go by Yahoo. And I would not recommend anybody just to go by a Yahoo press letter, and I'll explain it in a future video. But I found it on ABC, and needless to say, he did pass away. According to reports, it was fluids in his legs and lungs, and being that he's already 88 years old, it just was too overwhelming. So that was something happened. It happened at 2 a.m. But like I said, the press didn't get it to afterwards, and because they do late press, they do like that late night press. They throw it out there, but they didn't do any late night press, and that's largely because the paper business is pretty much dying, and they're not going to waste any ink if they don't need to. But it happened, and news reports started to come in. A couple of bloggers have also written, and a couple of video makers have also made their comments. Very short, very simple. I myself did one. And then something happened. I started to realize there was other people with big comments, and something similar to what this guy was saying. And I needed to say, one who I watched, Majority Report, Sam, he was trying his best to be polite, he was trying his best to be respectable, and he was, but you can tell that he has no love for this guy. You can tell that he really didn't want to talk about this guy, and it really felt like he was only doing it because, as a reporter, he felt obligated to mention it. But it was almost like, okay, he's dead, let's move on, and that was it. And it was just the way he said it, because it's like he wanted to say something, but he just didn't want to go there. He didn't want to go there, and even himself, he admitted that he's trying to be nice. He doesn't want to talk ill against a guy who has passed away. But it really felt that he was very struggling to not to do that. Surprisingly, no other independent news outlet has talked about it. Didn't say anything from the Young Turks all day. Apparently, they might talk about it tomorrow, but didn't hear anything from them all day about it. Didn't hear anything about it from the midweek report. They didn't talk about it. They might talk about it later on, because sometimes it takes some time to get reports, and they do talk about other major important things. But when he talked about it, it wasn't really a very surprisingly respectable way of reporting it. And although he didn't bash him, I will say that he didn't bash him, but I really felt he didn't want to talk about him either. The comments, however, I find more funny, because a lot of comments were very hateful to the guy. Come on, the guy just passed away. Well, why do we have to just bash the guy while he's down? Call him douchebag. The only reason why I don't get too much on this guy is because this was written on a Wednesday, not just now, and so and he was talking more about the documentary than anything else. But there was just people just saying a lot of nasty stuff on the comment page that I kind of wonder did you actually live in this city and realize how deep this city was in terms of being deserted, being torn apart, flat broke? I mean, seriously, it was very, very serious. So I really don't get it. I'm not the kind of guy who don't want to spit on somebody's grave and don't want to put the guy down like that. If you don't have anything nice to say to the guy, don't say anything. It's I'd rather have him not say anything than to basically stir up some very unwanted comments uh, from his page. But that's me. I really have a problem with that when people do that with the deceased. The guy died. You know, you don't if you don't like him, fine, but at least let the guy rest and let the guy be what he is. Guys, come on. There were also some good comments, and that's mostly from other videos and documentaries that was out there, saying rest in peace. You God bless you, got Koch, and hope you run for mayor in heaven. There were some good positive thoughts, but the other ones that really caught my attention, and especially towards people I know for a fact never lived in New York. My family have lived in New York for almost their entire lives, and they know the hell they had to go through to stay afloat in this city. The city was it was a wreck. Those who have moved here, you don't know. You just don't know. This city was bad, and that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. At least for one thing, financially, he got us back. If you want to criticize him for not lowering the crime rate, I can't stop you from that, because that was the one thing I think he was weakest as, because it was not safe in New York City in the 1980s. It just was not, and that was his watch. It didn't become safer when until Giuliani came in and pretty much paved the way for making it become more of a police state than anything else. So it's more a police state now in the Bloomberg, but he was the one who implemented that kind of style. He wasn't tolerant with crime, and he definitely started to rebuild the foundation, making this city more safer, more fun to be around, more fun to live in. So that much, if anything, that's the criticism I have with Ed Koch. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is my own vlog. I will leave a few articles relating to what I just said, but this is mostly my own vlog. I'm not here to report the news, just give you my own feelings and thoughts on the matter. And that's all I got to say about it. The mayor, to me, Ed Koch, late Ed Koch, was my first vision of politics as a young kid. His policies is mixed, but to be honest with you, any person, no matter who they are, you're gonna have mixed feelings about their policies. You're not gonna agree with everything you said, anything they say. You're not gonna follow what everything they throw out there, and you're not going to and you're going to question their leadership no matter what. So, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. To me, if I had to do a scale, I think he did a lot more for at least his 2 terms. He did more good than bad. His 3rd term is when he started tapering down. That's because, again, the crime wasn't really improving. It was getting a little bit worse and worse. So that's just about it. But overall, I do believe he was a good mayor. He is still considered the most popular ex-mayor we had. If I have any gripe on that situation, is the fact they named a bridge after him, which I will never call. I got no disrespect for Ed Koch, but that is not the Ed Koch Bridge. It is still the Queensboro Bridge, and a lot of New Yorkers agree with me on that. But that's a topic for another time. But yeah, I have nothing else to say except wow. God bless you, Ed Koch. You will be missed by a lot of people, even those who were who went blow for blow for you. They will definitely miss you, and that's just my feeling on the man. So, you guys, those who used to live in New York or had lived in New York at a time period, let me know what you feel about this. Leave it in the comment section. But until then, it's J77 saying take care, be safe. Talk to you soon.